There are a few movies I've probably seen in theaters multiple times. This one is definitely one of those movies. I think I've seen it on a date, I think I've seen it with family, and to find out how comfortable you really are. This is pre-COVID. Go to movies by yourself and watch a movie by yourself. That's how you know you're comfortable being alone. And when I watched the movie The Avengers from 2012, in the year 2012, 3 times in the theaters, I loved it every single time. And it's crazy to think of all the reviews I've done so far on my channel that I haven't reviewed the first big adventure movie, the first big box office Avengers movie that like brought everybody together, storyline written well, where you have these casts of these star-studded icons and they all flow. There's nobody who is still in the scene more than the other person. Each person has their own moments, and on top of that, with each person has their own moments, it's also each person written how they were written in their origin movie. So the writers didn't really have to do much to make you believe like this is Captain America, make you believe that this is the Hulk, this is Iron Man, this is Thor, because it's already done in the previous movies. All you had to do was bring them on screen and just don't mess up. And Joss Whedon in 2012 did not mess up, and this movie was the conclusion to Act 1 or Phase 1 of the MCU that we call now. And you know what? There's one hell of a left off. And today, we're going to review 2012's The Avengers. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Movie Breakdowns. I'm your host, Ali Zakka. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Movie Breakdowns. I'm your host, Ali Zakka. One of Movie Breakdowns, a movie review series we look at new and old movies, give them a grade A through F, plus and minuses do count. And if there's a movie you want me to review, let me know. Please put in the comment section below and I'll get to it as best I can. I'll have a Patreon, Patreon/Ali Zakka. And on this Patreon, because you're paying for my services, you cut in line. You pay for my Patreon, you ask me to do a movie review, I do it just like that. Immediately, it's out, there's no waiting. I knock it out, we keep the ball rolling. Also, you get extra content to this trade reaction, trade reviews, first thoughts, and much more stuff. Now, let's go ahead and get into today's episode of Movie Breakdowns, The Avengers 2012, or just known as The Avengers. I pretty much kind of dropped most of it in this beginning of the movie review here, the opener. This is a freaking great movie. I love this movie, and there's like 2 parts on here that stands out to me every time I watch this movie, no matter if it's 2012, 2021, 2020, 2018, 2017, wherever year I'm watching this movie is, there's 2 scenes that still bugs me every single time, and I'm just gonna knock it out right now. And those 2 scenes that I just can't get over every time I watch it is Captain America versus Loki, where I think they're in Germany, if not there's some event, I forget where it is because the scene is so small. It's like Loki has to do something to distract the Avengers so that his plan can carry out. So anyway, Loki fights Captain America and it's just like, and Captain America's being cheesy. Kind of reminds me of the Power Rangers when I watched that scene until Iron Man comes in and like shuts Loki down. And then the second scene that just bugs me is Loki talking to Scarlett Johansson, who is the Black Widow. So Loki and Black Widow talking to each other, and like Black Widow trying to figure out what the game plan is for Loki, and Loki's kind of like falling into her trap, and then he's talking about her ledger and how much blood is in it and all the things that Black Widow has done, because Black Widow trying to find out about, you know, Hawkeye, and he pretty much just goes in and she turns away. There's a little sad moment, and then when Loki mentions that you guys brought the monster on board, not me, she like snaps out of it and it's like, oh, it's because you are after the Hulk. And then Loki's like, what? That I think the directing there just seemed off for that moment. And I think that was the problem was for that scene when Black Widow was talking to Loki Loki and she's supposed to be distraught. That scene where she like comes from being distraught to the shift into her acting jobs, and she's supposed to go back into like serious face, like I am badass Black Widow. It just seemed too abrupt, and I think the directing on that one was wrong. But other than that, everything else was perfectly fine. Like, everything else I love. Like, matter of fact, I love the fact that Black Widow actually is a character. She actually has scenes and lines and things to say. She's not just the hot person who can kick butt. She's like legit a person you can connect to. I like that, and I actually liked how they gave her a little more character development in the Avengers, because the last time you saw her was in Iron Man 2, and she didn't really have much there. Another character who they bring in, that you see him in the Thor movie, is Hawkeye. They don't really introduce him as Hawkeye. Remember, you don't even know his name is Hawkeye. They call him Barton, because that's his name, Clint Barton. They call him that, but you don't really get to know him as the name of Hawkeye, and he is around. He's in the scene, the first part of the movie is a good guy team, then he gets switched over to Loki's side and pretty much a bad guy until the end of the movie where he comes back as a good guy. But like, you really don't get to know much about him. So when I remember watching the Avengers in 2012, I was like, I don't know who that person is. Why do I need to care about him? And from now, you get more into the Hawkeye background. Matter of fact, the Avengers movies are kind of like Black Widow's and Hawkeye's stories, to be honest, because they don't have much. They don't have their own movies with Black Widow now, hopefully. But at the time of this recording, she doesn't really have her own movie yet, or that's been released yet. And Hawkeye doesn't have his own thing yet that hasn't been released yet. So the Avengers movie kind of their way of writing those characters up, because Thor, Iron Man, the Hulk, and Captain America all have their movies at this point. And you know, the Hulk no longer has his own solo movies. He comes back in other movies, so his character development constantly grows. And for the Hulk, you really don't have to do much. Put Bruce Banner in spots where he can get angry or not get angry and just kind of control himself and then let loose. And from there, you have the Hulk. He is a weapon of mass destruction that can also have different avenues and written different ways to be written. But that's really the Hulk. You really don't need a movie with the Hulk being a solo character. Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, you can. And this movie does all those characteristics for those three characters really, really well. The scene where they're fighting in the park, not fighting in the park, they're fighting in the forest, as Iron Man calls it, Shakespeare in the park, is really well. And that's the first time you actually get the big three, like really like, oh, here's the big three standing off with each other, like, let's go. And then, you know, going to the future, I should say, you know, you watch Endgame, you're just like, here we go again, the big three fighting in like a wasteland area against Thanos. But this is the first time you get to see the big three together, and that's pretty cool stuff there. But I really do like how the Avengers really does build up Black Widow, make her more of a significant character. They build up Nick Fury, make him more of a significant character, so therefore you know, like, these people are somebody to watch and follow, not just, oh, they're here just to be like sidekicks, a part of the Avengers. Now, I do like that when I watch this Avengers movie, go back and rewatch it over and over again, because it's freaking great. It's a freaking great movie, besides, like I said, those two things at the beginning of the movie. Some other things I want to talk about before I get into cast and characters is, one, the camera angles. Camera angles on this is phenomenal. Like, there's different scenes where the tracking, matter of fact, at the end of the movie, there's a big battle scene that happens. And there's a tracking shot that he follows each Avengers throughout the battle. And I believe he starts off with Iron Man and then follows into, you know, Hawkeye, and then goes to Captain America. Like, it's Iron Man, Captain America, Hawkeye, and then goes over into Hulk and Thor. And it's like, it's a pretty cool tracking shot that just, I even take that step back. I think it starts off with Black Widow because she's trying to get up into Stark Tower at the time. But it's just this cool tracking shot that follows everybody, and it's pretty dope. It's pretty dope. And that's not the only tracking shot you have. You have the infamous tracking shot where, like, the camera comes down after the Hulk transforms for the second time, and the camera comes down and it circles around the whole Avengers. That, like, you watch my videos, you see I use the clip almost all the time. I mention the Avengers because it's just an epic moment. They ask Bruce Banner, "What's your secret?" And he's like, "I'm always angry," and just turns into the Hulk and just smash the alien. You're just like, yeah, this is what I've been waiting for. and this movie does have a build up. This movie you literally can put into Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and how it's built up, and it's pretty dang good. But the tracking shots and the camera following certain characters or following people's faces, or the scenes where like it's a wide shot and you're just watching two characters interact with each other, I think is great. And something you really don't get to see much, especially when there's so many like quick cut scenes with certain people, for the camera to be like, no, we're just gonna have two people in the room just talking, just a wide shot. That's all you need. And there's a few jokes in this movie too. This movie has a lot of jokes. Each character makes quips and smart aleck remarks to each other. It's pretty funny stuff. There's one of my favorite scenes though, is where this guy, police officer's like trying to figure out how to control everything. Captain America pops up and like, all right, I need you guys to do this. Put these people in buildings underground, block off 31st Street, 39th Street, whatever the case may be. Put a perimeter up, barrier, yada yada yada. And the guy was like, the officer goes, why don't you listen to you? And the aliens drop down. Captain America disposes them like that. And within the same scene, it doesn't break. It doesn't camera angle cut. It's the same camera angle. You see Captain America on top of this car, police officer looking at Captain America, and then he immediately turns around and starts barking orders that Captain America follow. Like, just instant. Phenomenal work. Great stuff. Good work, Joss Whedon. Good work. And the music's done well too. It's phenomenal. The iconic Avengers music is in this movie. Just some good stuff. And you're like, Ali, man, you're talking about all this stuff and all these things and certain pieces and certain characters. But what's the story? Well, it's simple, the story really. A very simple story. Loki gets the ability from Thanos to command an army. He tries to go take over Earth. For some reason, Loki has done research, so he knows about Captain America, he knows about Iron Man, he knows about the Hulk, and he's aware of the Avengers, or not the Avengers, but aware of S.H.I.E.L.D. So like he has a game plan to try to take them all out, which when you really think about it, it doesn't really make sense because like they wasn't really working together at this point, and Loki's main objective is to get a Tesseract and control Earth, and then Tesseract's one of the power stones that goes into Thanos' gauntlet. And Thanos really doesn't want to do the work himself yet, so he's just like, I'll let everybody else do it. I'm good. So Loki is like Thanos' lackey. Loki is saved by Thanos. Loki goes and goes to Earth and try to conquer Earth. Allows himself to get captured by the Avengers, as Iron Man says in the movie. Not a good plan. Allows him to get captured, and then from there to take the team out from the inside because they don't trust each other. And there is a scene where like, everybody like has an argument scene where everybody breaks down, where Captain America and Iron Man are going at each other because they have two different views and ideology on life. Thor's kind of getting adjusted to everybody who's like, man, humans are so puny kind of thing. Bruce Banner doesn't really want to be there, but he's getting dragged into it because he's trying to find a way to stop the source of energy that is the Tesseract. But there's little things where Iron Man brings up like you can't trust S.H.I.E.L.D. And Captain America goes and look up some research. I never noticed this until now. All these years, after 9 years now, I didn't notice it that there's Hydra equipment in the S.H.I.E.L.D.'s base. And Captain America finds it and takes it to S.H.I.E.L.D. like this is a weapon of mass destruction. That's what he uses the Tesseract for. And Nick Fury's like, no, we're trying to use it to save the world because of Thor. So it's like all these things that happen in the other movies all brought into this movie. But yeah, the Avengers got to stop Loki from taking over Earth, and Loki does a horrible job at breaking them up. He actually brings them together. And that's his downfall. You do get some character development, like Iron Man goes from being really stuck up and being like, I'm more selfish, or I'll find another way around to do something, to taking a missile into space and blowing up the alien spaceship and almost putting himself in harm's way. Which he was like, when Captain America called him out earlier in the beginning of the movie, Iron Man said, I just cut the wire instead of laying over to let my people go over me. And I was like, smart. There's more than one way to do something. And that's pretty much the movie. As far as what they made, because it's a simple movie, as far as what they made in the box office, this movie's budget was $220 million. It made $1.5 billion in the box office. Like, this movie just blew it out the park. That's worldwide, by the way. United States, it grossed $623 million. So they really blew out the water for this. Let's go ahead and get into the cast and characters. Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, great. Like I said in all my other reviews, he is Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr. has done a great job with that character. And even though this movie was more about the group, he does have some character development in this movie where you see him go from being like, it's really all about me, to be more of a team player and like, you know what, I'm gonna sacrifice myself for the greater good. Chris Evans as Steve Rogers, Captain America, great. He's more stuck up still. He hasn't really cut loose yet. Still by the book. But he did the character right. He's still a little cheesy at times. Like he has some jokes where, like, for example, Nick Fury mentioned flying monkeys and Captain America goes, I get that reference. But somebody else mentioned something like Stephen Hawking. He's like, I don't understand that reference. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner. Mark Ruffalo is spot on. When they picked him to be the replacement for Edward Norton, to be the Hulk, to be the Bruce Banner, spot on, great. He's laid back, meek mannered, like mild mannered. Bruce Banner, great. Chris Hemsworth as Thor, phenomenal. I don't know what to say. Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, great as well. I actually like the fact she has a little more character development. I like the fact she gets to speak more. You get to learn more about her background. You see that she's not just a one-trick pony as far as the cute person who can kick butt. She actually has a personality. She actually a little goofy and also not as serious as like the other movies should make her be. I like that. Scarlett Johansson did a nice little twist on Black Widow. Jeremy Renner as Clint Burton, who is Hawkeye. For what he was in this movie, he was good. I don't want to call him great yet because you didn't really get much from him. He was a good guy who got turned over by the bad guys and then back to the good guy at the end of the movie. And the guy with the bow and arrows. He's Hawkeye, he's the assassin, but that's pretty much what you get. Tom Hiddleston as Loki, phenomenal. He is great. The little things that Tom Hiddleston does as Loki is hilarious and spot on. And I just feel like he gets the character right. Tom Hiddleston is Loki, just like Iron Man is Robert Downey Jr. or vice versa. For example, there's a scene where Hawkeye shoots an arrow at Loki and Loki catches it like this. And he looks at it and goes, and smirks, and it blows up in front of his face. But the audacity he had to look at him like, don't use an arrow against me. I'm Loki. I'm a god. I just think it's great. Or, for example, where Iron Man and Thor is fighting in the woods, Loki sits back and chill. He's not handcuffed, by the way, which I was just like, that is so interesting that they didn't handcuff Loki. They just let him be. But he was sitting back and chill. He was like, And the way Tom Hiddleston leans down or sits on the rocks, it kind of like just like chill. Like those little details that you don't get to see, or I feel like Tom Hiddleston added in himself for that character. And I love it. Clark Gregg as Agent Phil Coulson. He did a good job, did great. Kobe Smolder as Agent Maria. Thought she did great as well. And Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. Phenomenal. He is spot on. Samuel L. Jackson is great as Nick Fury. I don't know what else to say. I already talked about the music. I already talked about the camera angles and the setup. Pretty much when you already had 4 movies to kind of set up these characters. Matter of fact, 5, because Iron Man 2 came out before the Avengers. To set up these characters, you had to keep the ball rolling or you could drop the ball, and MCU did not drop the ball. They kept it rolling. They shot it out the park. They hit the home run, grand slam, great work. And because of this movie, we got Infinity War. We got, Endgame. If it wasn't for this movie being so good, I think the rest of it all would not have worked, and I give it props to that. Is this a Friday night movie? Yes, it is. Go watch with your friends and family and grade time. I'm going to grade 2012 The Avengers an A. I'm grading it an A for two things. And the reason why, because I think, to me, they're probably a nitpick, but other people probably wouldn't really think about it or wouldn't really feel off on it, was one, Captain America versus Loki the first time. I think that it seemed more cheesy to me, more like the Power Rangers, but it's also like worlds colliding there, so. And that one scene just where Black Widow, it's just a moment where I feel like the directing there didn't seem right for Black Widow to go. That's your play, Banner. Like, I just seem like it just seems off. It sticks with me every time I watch that movie, every time. But it's an A. Like, if it wasn't for those two, I would have gave this movie an A+. But it's an A. It's an A. If you've seen the Avengers, what did you think? Because everything else about this movie is great. Everything else, Hulk versus Thor, the Avengers teaming up at the end, Hulk smashing Loki back and forth over and over again. The little details where he looks at Loki and does it again. The storyline where everybody's coming together and each person has their moment to shine. So therefore, you're not like everybody's overshadowing each other. It's each person has their moment to shine, and then they bounce off each other. The writers, Joss Whedon, knew with this movie the characters he was working with and the mentality of those characters and how to make them mesh well enough where one didn't overpower the other, or one didn't overtower the other, or everybody got the equal chance to shine. And he actually give Black Widow, Nick Fury, more moments of shine as he kind of like make the other ones sit back just a little bit, because you already know what their characters. So he gave other characters a little more room to grow. I think it's great. And the fact that this is like the first one in the Avengers like series, you got Avengers 2, Age of Ultron, Infinity War, Endgame. This is great. This is great. It's an A movie. If you've seen the Avengers, what do you think? Please put in the comment section below. Other than that, thank you guys for watching this episode of Movie Breakdowns. See you next time. Keep being awesome. Thank you guys for watching this episode. I really appreciate it. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Also, you want to see what else I'm doing in my normal life and other things that's going on, please follow me on Instagram at Ali_Zakka. I'll put it right here around my face. Yep, right there. Also, if you want more episodes of Movie Breakdowns or Grind Towards Success or whatever it is I'm doing on YouTube, you know what? Follow my page right here, like I said before, the little comment thing right there, And then you can watch the last episode of Movie Breakdowns right here, and watch the last episode of Grind Towards Success right there. Other than that, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate y'all. See y'all next time. Keep being awesome.